Okay, so it's Saturday. I've arrived at the bus here. My plan today is to get these panels off in the front, in the back, possibly the side panels. Might need to use the impact hammer, yes, to get them unstuck from the top rim. That might need to happen from outside. But we'll do those things, and I may take that rubberized material off the back bench or engine shroud, and then if I have a really good day I might get to working on some of the rivets in the front and back. So that's the plan for today's work. Okay, so I got the back cleaned up here. That'll let me take that panel off and get the rubber off the back. Move the stuff over to the table over this way. So yeah, that's actually a replacement starter box that AAA Bus sent me, along with a bunch of other parts out of a similar bus, including the radiator that's currently in the bus and the charge air cooler. They created up basically I just told them give me everything that's useful out of the back, and also dashboard stuff. And so we made a deal, and they shipped me a crate of parts. So if you're doing a bus restoration, AAA Bus, those guys are your friends. They've done me right. The motor that's currently in this started with a long block that they sent me. That was after I put the rod through the block of this Cummins ISC. I bought this bus because the ISC 8.3 is supposed to be very durable. It's wet sleeve, etc., etc. And that's great until you put a rod through the block when a valve seizes up. But at this point, it should be a very durable platform for us. You know, the heart living under that shroud over there is, at this point, pretty much brand new, along with a rebuilt transmission. And this bus ought to see us for many thousands of miles of adventure, problem-free, Lord willing. So anyhow, I'm going to start taking off that shroud cover and the last panels there. Get the sheet metal that I can get out here so that we can raise this sucker. I need to get to the rivets, probably under the window. I think there's probably a row of rivets there. If not, I'll cut the sheet metal, but I believe there's a row of rivets under the window that I'll take out. And I might even split the difference on the raise. I might do 10 inches above and below the window. I'm not sure. I'm still thinking that through. I might want to put a rack on the back of the bus to hold the mini split condenser unit and extra propane cylinders or something like that. If I do that, it'll be below the window. If you're curious what I'm talking about, the off-grid Skoolie has such a shelf, you know, sort of on the back. I don't want to, but I might delete that back window just to make some wall space in the master bedroom suite. So we'll see what happens there. Okay, so I've peeled back some of this disgusting thick rubberized material. There's this almost tar paper-like insulating sheet behind it. This is quite difficult. I cut it with a disposable razor knife there, and yeah, I unscrewed the closed contact alarm from the window there. So anyway, this is really gross, actually. It looks like some kind of, I don't know, it's not really mold. It's just probably the dirtiness of this tar papery stuff. But yeah, not easy to do. I'm sort of out of breath. So anyway, I'll keep at it. Okay, so I'm making some progress getting this really thick rubber off the back. You can see I'm using a crowbar here to do that. I'll probably have to use a putty knife to get this foamy stuff off here. And then this is an access for the engine. I would assume if they had major repairs to do that they'd have to replace this rubber piece, but having replaced the turbo, it's hard to get to the back bolts. I wish I'd have known this was this way when I was doing that job. I would have taken this panel off much sooner It would have saved me probably a trip to Adams County, Pennsylvania. I'll go into more of that later. Probably when I get better at editing videos, I'll go through the whole saga of buying the bus breaking down, and repairing the bus. I got a lot of pictures I can narrate to that. But anyhow, that engine access will be under the bed, so I'll loosely panel it with some insulation so that we can access it should we ever need to take the head off the engine or change the turbo out. It'll be much easier to do, being able to access from that side. So anyhow, back at it. Holy moly, I am winded. Thomas must have been really serious about making sure this fart guard rubber didn't come unglued from the bench, man. There's more adhesive here than probably is used to hold the whole car together. Oh my goodness, this thing is freaking hard to take out. I'm using the crowbar, but it's still a lot of force, a lot of work to peel that back, and a lot of that foam's still sticking, so it's not over yet, but I will prevail. This is what small victories look like. Oh my god. Okay, I got the heavy-duty rubber off this thing. Now it's time to get that top piece of insulation felt, whatever you call it, off. Hopefully it's not as difficult. And then I'm going to get the putty knife out and scrape this weird foamy adhesive crap off the bench as best I can. Ultimately, this is going to be under other insulation, but I want to get this nasty stuff out so that it's not making the bus smell bad later. So, and assess the metal underneath. But anyhow, back at it. Well, as much as I like that window, I'm starting to think that based on how wet this stuff is and how much it's letting moisture in, that it's really not worth saving. What I might do instead is put in some small, boat hatch style windows or porthole windows just to be able to see behind the bus. We'll have a skylight escape right above, in that in between these two hat channels. We'll have a roof access for escape. So I'm thinking that that window is probably not going to be part of the final build, just based on how wet everything is. I might just reskin everything on the back. Still got to think about it, but clearly it's letting moisture in. This stuff's sopping wet. And it's creating rust in the metal on top here. So that's where I'm at. This stuff's coming up easy, but it's soaked some kind of a cellulose sheet, from what I can tell, but it's gross. I was using a putty knife to try to scrape that foam off, but quickly realized it'd be a lot easier with a wire wheel, heavy-duty wire wheel cup on the angle grinder. If there's one tool you can't live without in doing a Skoolie conversion, it's the freaking angle grinder. You'll need that for about a million different things, believe it or not. So, anyhow, that was about 20 seconds to remove that with much foam. And then I still have to angle grind that rust. I actually thought I was done with rust on this bus. This is why you buy an Arizona bus, everybody. This is kind of frustrating because I thought I was really done with fixing rust. And actually, you'll see in the seam there, I've got rust holes. So, not done. More rust to deal with. Anyhow, I'll keep at it. Okay, so I unbolted the 1/2-inch bolts from the, intermediate bolts within the seat. I'm going to pull the seat out now, set it aside so that I can finish getting this panel. It's a little bit awkward with the seat in the way. So, so I'll be moving the seat here out of the way. Okay, so I managed to get all the metal out of the front of the bus. You had to, in the corner here on this bus, you had to use an angle grinder to cut a slot and bend the metal so that which wires was it? These darker colored wires would come through. Not sure what they go to yet, so better to be safe than sorry. I've got that done. And the panel, which is all one piece, is over here. It'll be interesting to maybe reuse that door somewhere. I got to think about that, maybe as a cabinet or a medicine cabinet or something. I'd like to preserve a few elements from the bus, so we'll see. But at this point, I've got the front metal out. I can access the rivets now. Next, I'll do the back metal. Okay, so I've finished removing all the metal from the front, including the sign shroud there with its illumination. I've labeled the wires that I had to disconnect. There were some for the radio, some for that light, for the sign, antenna, and the fan. And this one I didn't have to disconnect that fan. It's just hanging there. Although at some point I probably will. Anyhow, got the front done. I'm going to take a break. Okay, so I got the sheet metal out of the back. That was quite difficult. That thing's pretty heavy. But yeah, the sheet metal's out. I'm going to call it quits for the evening. I'm pretty tired. I'm going to head back home here. And I think I might be back at it tomorrow. To be determined. That's it.